Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Welcome to Tuesday Facebook Live. Good to be here with you on a actually cooler August Tuesday than we have been experiencing. So it's outstanding to be here with you on a breathe, release, and let go day. If you're just joining me, it is Jeffery Combs, Facebook Live, and it is 2 for Tuesday. And today's Facebook Live is understanding the difference between guilt and shame. They are similar emotional energies, yet distinctly different. And as you begin to understand the difference between the two, then you can continue to create the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. In the map of the scale of consciousness, any emotion that is anxiety, fear, and doubt related, the scale of that emotion scales from 180 cycles a second down to 25 cycles a second, or hertz. So energy is measured and calibrated in energy per second. So when you find yourself overwhelmed, when you're angry, when you're feeling in an anxious state, when you're in fight or flight, the emotions that you're transmuting in the scale of consciousness are going to be anger, hate, resentment, disappointment, frustration, and rage. That's the 6 faces of anger. Then there's rejection and abandonment. Then there is guilt and shame. Then there's overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. These are the emotions that comprise the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings of anxiety, fear, and especially doubt. Yuritsa, thank you for bringing your team to today's Facebook Live. I greatly appreciate you and Josh endorsing me, and then all others who are here with me this afternoon. I am covering the difference between guilt and shame, which is near the bottom of the map of the scale of consciousness. The lowest levels of energy that we transmute our feelings from are from guilt and shame, apathy, and grief. That's the bottom of the map of scale of consciousness. And as you begin to let go, and those of you who coach with me, I assist you to separate what it means to let go. Letting go is the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. And I want to, Josh Waxman and Yuritsa, my humble gratitude for you. And gratitude brings your energy on the map of the scale of consciousness above courage, and it brings you into higher consciousness where you're transmuting your energy in the 300 to 350 cycles a second. So that forgiveness, gratitude, and then as you move into love, joy, bliss, and then understanding, awareness, and knowing, now you're going to be in an energetic state where you can attract your reality, quality, like-minded success seekers, customers, vendors, and clients who you can collaborate with on a daily basis in a higher frequency and higher law of average. I've been teaching this to Josh Waxman for 10 years. Those of you who also coached with me for years, I've been teaching you the inner game of letting go, the mastery of letting go, which is the separation. You're emotionally separating your feelings from the events that created trauma. When you have lingering trauma, it creates a trauma bond. The body keeps score of every event that's ever happened to you. As you begin to let go of your anxiety, fear, and doubt in a relaxed body, now you're creating the separation between the feelings and the facts. So if you grow up as an unwanted child, if you're an adult child of alcoholics, if you're an adult child of a narcissist or narcissist who used gaslighting techniques to seduce you into believing that you're not good enough, or that you have to be dependent upon a parent for the rest of your life, or if you lose your innocence or lose your identity by having to take care of alcoholic addicted parents, then that sets you up in losing your innocence to be codependent. I have 16 years of codependent recovery, 36 years of drug and alcohol recovery, and I did not understand the depth of my codependence until I continued to recreate the same series of intimate relationships to fulfill the same disappointment. And letting go is the skill set, being able to objectively look at a situation for what it is without personalizing, that's non-attachment. So let's take a look at guilt and shame today. So shame is personal, guilt is outside. So governments use guilt to control us. It's called trauma-based mind control. And then advertising is used to control us through signs and symbolisms. And then we buy certain brands because the advertising agencies of the world, along with Tavistock, BlackRock, and a whole series of other brands that own all the brands, know how to use trauma-based mind control. And so we end up buying bad food, we end up buying brands, we end up buying a lot of things and stuff that's in alignment with those feelings that because we want instant gratification. An Oreo cookie, for instance, if you ever look at the Oreo cookie, it has a French symbol on it that very few people even know what that symbol means. And so that's signs, symbols, and so you're seduced into putting these bad foods in your mouth. Then there's a new shot that's available for weight loss that's out there that's an instant gratification. A lot of what we seek is instant gratification because we hold on to a set of feelings, specifically guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, grief, apathy, and pride. These are the main emotions that will keep you feeling not good enough. And then when you're on a telephone and you're talking to a prospect and a lead, and you're in this level of emotional force, well, what you are is in a mixed message. You're saying, please, Mr. Customer, buy from me because I'm desperate. I require some instant gratification. But since I'm not good enough in a mixed message, why don't you go ahead and lie to me and then get back to me later? And so that's what happens. And this is what happens to many people is then they get discouraged, not courage, and they hold on to the same set of feelings, recreating the same outcome. So shame is going to come from your personal violations. Shame is going to come from stealing money from the cash register. I'm a recovering thief. I used to steal money from cash registers, from employers I worked. Steps 8 and 9 is where you make amends, either personally or you make amends or it may harm you or others in any 12-step program. Making amends is asking for forgiveness. That's kleptomania, and so that is shame. I'm a recovering drug addict, drug dealer. That's shame. Guilt is when other people put that cloak of guilt upon you and then try and control you. They want you to loan them money, bail them out, give them money in other situations, or guilt you into complying, into doing things you don't want to do. And this is how a lot of what goes on in our world today. It's called trauma-based mind control. And then if your body is holding on to trauma from events that are unresolved, much of that you're holding on to will be shame. Of failing a class, getting arrested, having a DUI, not going to college, broken relationships, multitude of situations, cheating on someone, being cheated on, multitude of situations that the body holds on to. As you have a better understanding of cause and effect, as you have a better understanding of how the events shape your feelings, then you will no longer be the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. This is how you create the separation. So the body reacts to stimulus. See, I'll cover this for you today. So reacting means autonomically, automatically, without you even knowing it. And so if you're living in this state, it means the body runs the brain. And this is why your gut, you feel hungry, and so you want some instant gratification. And then before you know it, you've eaten a bag of chips, and then you feel ashamed of yourself. So that's not guilt, that is shame. That is when it's very personal. It's personal, and this is why addicts will hide alcohol, they'll hide their debt, they'll pathologically lie. And when you're doing this, you're in shame. Guilt is what other people place upon you to try and make you feel guilty. This is why it's important you understand the separation. So guilt and shame is not synonymous. They're two distinct energies. They're both at the bottom of the map of the scale of consciousness. And this will greatly affect you if you're in your own business where it's your responsibility to create money. And so even like if you've ever tipped a waiter, like a big tip, I've been a big tipper for years because I was a waiter and I craved those $100 tips back in the 70s and 80s. But there are many people that will even question you, are you sure? That's a lot to tip me. So, I mean, that's their own, that's their own guilt that's been placed on them. It's not that they're ashamed to receive the money, but they've been conditioned not to accept that money because they're not good enough. Now, if you're in sales, in a business, and your skills at asking, specifically deserving and receiving, aren't in alignment with what your mouth moves and say you want this big house or you want this or you want a better life, but if your lower self is in doubt that you're capable of creating it, or you feel guilty, which really means ashamed, you're ashamed to be able to create that income, then you're in a mixed message. Now, I've been teaching this for 26 years as a coach, and then 10 years prior, I started studying Phil Lott, Frederick Lehrman, I started studying Stuart Wilde, and I started understanding that my dialogue with money was not conducive to my ability to create it, because I was using money as a drug. I wanted money for instant gratification to make up for how ashamed I was of being a drug addict, alcoholic, having DUIs, hit and runs, stealing and and drug dealing in a multitude of other situations, because I wanted money to heal me. And it did not, and it would not, until I learned the real skills of letting go, which is the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. For you to be prosperous and wealthy in today's world, it's going to be your responsibility to be a steward with money. Now, for those of you who follow Josh Waxman, he is an exceptional money master. I highly endorse him and Yuritsa. They teach infinite banking and many other money skills and what to do with money in unsafe times. And they have many money programs. I highly endorse you follow them if you haven't already followed them. And there are other people that I endorse that are money masters. The great Frederick Lehrman had an audio cassette program in the 90s called Prosperity Consciousness. I have my own content on my own website. I've been teaching money skills for years, and so money is going to be a byproduct of your ability to create service and value in the free market. Let go of your guilt that's been placed upon you and the shame that you hold on internally so that you can create what the free market will bear. You're going to require more money in the next 2 to 4 years than any time in American history because of the escalated recession, inflation, interest rates, and everything else that's going on. And in this election year, the world is teetering around this. The Olympics, those of you who saw the closing dates of the Olympics, your head was swiveling. The opening of the Olympics, go back to the 2012 Olympics. Those of you who understand sign symbolism, those of you who understand what's going on in the world, it's unique times, and it's going to require your best self, your best ability as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to create money and free enterprise in ways that you may not have been able to conceptualize. And it's going to require you to be able to step out of the debt matrix. So debt is used to control you. Debt is used to keep you in shame. Because if you carry large amounts of debt and then you have to hide it, then you're going to be ashamed of yourself. And if you don't have your dialogue with money, if you don't know how much money you made last month, if you don't have a spreadsheet, if you're not paying quarterly taxes, if you're not on a payroll, and you don't have a dialogue with money that's conducive to creating it, well, then you're going to be in money denial. And that's what happens with guilt and shame. And this is why so many people never make it in free enterprise, because they quit before they break through. You're going to require a money mentor. You're going to require to be a steward of your own money. It's going to require you to learn how to recruit and prospect. You're going to have to let go of your anxiety about the outcome, what other people are going to think of you. And you're going to have to really step up to the plate and be that man and woman that you're capable of, because that's what will allow you to be a leader grower. And then as you learn to lead, you can learn to mentor. And then you can attract mentees to your reality. And then in a higher law of frequency, people will begin to show up. And when they show up, it's going to be a byproduct of you letting go. You're letting go of your scarcity consciousness, your debt consciousness. You're letting go of feelings of being overwhelmed. You're letting go of your dialogue with money that's not conducive to the creation of it. You're letting go of not feeling good enough. You're letting go of the guilt and shame of your addicted behaviors. And you're starting to step into your power so that you can be your best self. And as you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, now you're living in higher consciousness. And higher consciousness means that your vision changes, your communication style improves, you're addressing the kindas, the guesses, the maybes, and the I don't knows in the way you communicate. Clarity becomes a way of life for you. Your vision improves, the vision of the outcome you seek to create. And over periods of time, 1 day, 1 month, 1 quarter, 1 year, people begin to show up differently, synchronistically. I mean, it becomes mythical, magical as these people begin to show up in your life, provided you feel you deserve it. But if you don't deserve it, then you will continue to attract chaos, drama, trauma, and stay in an overwhelmed state of unconscious consciousness to create the payoff. The payoff is 2 words that I've been teaching for multiple years, and I had a 2-day event called Millionaire Blueprint. I spent 3 hours on this topic, on what it means to live in the payoff. Recreate the same situation to fulfill a neurochemical craving of disappointment, to fulfill your feelings of not being good enough, which are attached to guilt and shame. So if you live in disappointment, the bottom of that is guilt and shame. Guilt from the outer world, shame from your inner world that you're holding on to that keeps you feeling not good enough. So the word deserve comes from the Latin word da servire, day of service. And so to be a better entrepreneur, it's going to require service and value. And your service to yourself and others is what will start to create your value. But if you don't feel valuable, then you're going to have challenges being able to create the money you require to live a good life, to be able to attract the people who have prosperity consciousness rather than poverty consciousness. You're going to encounter many people who have been emotionally conditioned through guilting techniques to be poverty conscious. And when you encounter poverty conscious people who don't see the value either in you, your products, your services, then it's going to be your responsibility to let them go without feeling overwhelmed, attached, or that you were rejected. And once again, remember that rejection, if you feel rejected, that's a direct connection to your own feelings of shame. So when you let go of the shame you have, rejection will begin to dissipate. Because people don't reject you, people don't buy from you because either, number one, you're not able to convey the value. Number two, they're not qualified buyers. And as you begin to improve in this skill and technique, then you learn to become non-attached. But if you still hold on to guilt and shame, rejection and abandonment, then the lower self-ego to fulfill the payoff will feel rejected and or abandoned. And as you have a better understanding of the content I'm sharing with you today, then you will be able to begin to scale the map of consciousness, live in a higher state of courage so that you're not in anxiety, fear, and specifically doubt in the analytically egoic left brain that processes, thinks, and analyzes over and over and tries to validate and justify. If you're on today's Facebook Live and you've purchased products from me before, either books, listen to CDs, downloads, podcasts, and you identify with my message or content, and you would like to receive a free 20-minute coaching call, and you've considered hiring me to be your coach, feel free to reach out to me. I would be honored to speak to you. I have a half an hour free, 35 minutes, for the first person who reaches out to me. I will contact you immediately today if you'd like to receive that free value right now for some IG instant gratification. I want to thank all of you for being on today's Facebook Live. It is awesome to see a team here, Josh Waxman and Yuritsa. Deep appreciation for bringing your culture. I highly endorse Josh and Yuritsa as money masters. I also endorse Heather Vajan as a top-tier leader in the health and wellness industry. Heather, so good to see you here. And thank you for many of you for being here this afternoon and being long-term clients and long-term followers. Jennifer Brady, good to see you. I saw John McFadden, Scott Fallaney. I also highly endorse as a coach. Kayla, good to see you this afternoon. Linda, thank you for being here. Aaron, always. Michelle, Alicia, good to see you. Aaron, good to see you. Good to see all of you here this afternoon. Breathe, release, and let go. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good afternoon.